So incredibly, there was another wrinkle to the story. My mom goes to pick up the phone. They say they can't fix the display. They give her a new phone and they didn't back it up. They said, check your iCloud backup. Her 50 gigabytes of pictures is not in her iCloud backup. Like, have they never dealt with somebody needing a new phone before and you have to back it up first? What on earth? The phone has already been erased and sent off to a parts center. I just, like, I cannot believe, like, that should be, like, the #1 thing that you say if you're gonna service the phone. We may erase all the data. Do you have a backup? Unbelievable, dude. Like literally, I am not believing what is happening right now. I'm just like so shocked. Like, my mother is 60 years old, man. She can't know that she needs a backup. She needs somebody to tell her. And don't let her leave the store without the old phone if it's not backed up. I mean, come on, dude. So she went from a working phone that had a slightly less good battery to a phone that didn't work with a good battery to a phone that had none of her stuff on it. Like, the only thing that matters in that phone is pictures. That's the one thing I can't back up automatically because there's like 1,000,000 gigabytes of it. Man, what an utterly craptacular way to start the day. I hate it when, like, bad stuff like this happens and then you can't really stop thinking about it and it's like the only thing on your mind. Oh, I dreamt about it all night last night. And I went to the store. I knew they had already shipped it off and erased it. Oh, God. Fortunately, I've got class in about 2 hours and hopefully that'll help me get it off my mind. But like, man, how many people are walking around with basically ticking time bombs and if they lose all of their pictures, they're just gone. Should back up my photos. I haven't done that in a while. So this is another replacement for the canoe disaster. I haven't really needed this just yet, but I need it for a shoot this weekend, so I was like, well, I better reorder it. And that is the wireless microphone. This Rode wireless microphone is great, highly recommended. It's called the Rode Link, but anyways, I'm not even gonna open it right now, but I'll test it out tomorrow. Gotta get ready for my class. Okay, time to go teach that class. I'd like some exercise to reset your brain a little bit, kind of flush out some of the anger. You know what's funny? It's like something like this happening in like a day or two, it's not a big deal, right? But can you imagine when stuff like this happens that have actual real consequences? Like maybe like your car gets stolen or something and things that actually matter happen? How upset you must be when those happen. I don't know, it's real easy to talk a big game of like being serene when bad things go wrong and be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. But then when the things happen, that's when it actually, that's like, those are your tests. I usually fail them. So, I've been doing a really good job of not spending money, but Tetris Effect is $20 right now. And it's so hard to override that impulse of, oh, it's so cheap, I gotta get it now. Instead of waiting until I have the time and I have the money to buy it and play it, you know what I mean? This is super obvious when you say it out loud, but any sort of time-sensitive thing is just a marketing gimmick. It's always gonna be cheaper again later. That's not always true, especially with physical copies of games, but for most things, it's gonna be cheaper later, and do you really need it? Sometimes to prevent myself from buying stuff, I'll just write down the things that I want. I looked at one of those lists from like a few months ago. I had forgotten all of those things existed. Looking at them, I'm like, oh yeah, I'd love to have all these, but literally just forgot they existed. It always passes, that urge to buy, you know? I saw some funny financial advice, which is not really funny, it's just completely common sense. Spend less money than you make. Why is that a hard thing to do? Credit cards, that's, oh! That was actually something I had planned on talking about today, but I couldn't see through the fog of anger that I had all day. I think that being overly busy is kind of the same mindset as spending more money than you have. I don't know if that actually makes sense, but it feels to me kind of like, I don't know what the exact statistics are, but in America, the amount of people who have credit card debt is just like insane. And the amount is even more insane. But also in America, I feel like we're always all too busy and we're trying to do too much. And I don't know if those actually correlate, but I feel like there's some sort of connection between spending more money than you have and spending more time than you have. Does that make sense? That makes some sense somewhere. That's one of those thoughts that popped in my head right before I was about to fall asleep. And I was like, ooh, I want to talk about that in the vlog. And then now today, it doesn't make nearly as much sense as it did in bed. That happens a lot. Anyways, I spent way too much of the day being angry. It's time to watch some Deep Space Nine and have some dinner. Good old Deep Space Nine. You know what's interesting is when something bad happens like this, you just go over all of the things you could have done to prevent it over and over in your head. But the fact of the matter is, none of those things were done. And then the worst case scenario happened multiple times. And it's like, what's done is done. You just have to live with it. This year, there have been 2 disasters like that. One was all the stuff falling into the river. That stuff, I don't even care that much though, because it's replaceable. When you lose like pictures or footage, that's irreplaceable. It's like, you cannot replace it. That is just the nature of existence. On that note, I really need to get that insurance for my cameras, and I need to double back up all my footage because I've only got one backup of most of it. Let this be a warning. That's gonna do it for today's vlog. I'm gonna leave you with this hilarious image of my mom looking like a cocoon. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. This is probably the only time this house is gonna look this nice.